What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After Season 8, Episode 4, The Boy Who Cried Divorce. Now let's get started with Mahmoud and Nicole. So when their segment starts off, Nicole is basically giving us a background story on why she was so triggered when Mahmoud looked at the woman on the pier who was dressed in her full hijab attire. So she tells us that when she was living in Egypt with Mahmoud, she had found out that he was communicating with other women, and this is the reason why it really triggered her when she claimed that he stopped dead in his track as they were walking on the pier and he was gawking at this woman who was dressed traditionally in a traditional Muslim attire. And I don't know when he stopped dead in his tracks and gawked at her. From what I could tell, he did look at the woman. He did glance at her. And for me, I didn't think that it was because he was like attracted to this woman. I just thought that Mahmoud looked at her because she reminded him so much of his home, reminded him so much of what the women look like back in Egypt. And I thought that was the reason why he glanced at her. But according to Nicole, he was gawking at her. The whole world stopped rotating when he saw her. And he was just so mesmerized by this woman. So she calls Mahmoud because after they had a confrontation about him looking at this woman, he walked away from her. He left her on the pier. So she calls him and he tells her that he's not going to be coming back. So Nicole feels like she will never meet his expectations for a wife, and she's very much aware of all of her insecurities in this relationship. Finally, Mahmoud finds his way back to her. They argue about Mahmoud looking at the other woman in the hijab, and he tells her the reason why I looked at her was because she reminded me of home. And he also said that he wasn't expecting to see a woman dressed so traditionally in Los Angeles. He never expected to see that. So this is another reason why this woman caught his eye. It wasn't because he was attracted to her or he was checking her out or anything like that, according to Mahmoud. So he says that he did not like how she spoke to him. He did not like, the words that she used when she confronted him about this. And Nicole said to him, so you don't like it when I'm accusing you of being a womanizer or me calling you out as a womanizer. So she did use the word womanizer. And I was like, okay, Nicole, you're taking a little bit too far. If Mahmoud is not a womanizer, okay, maybe, I don't know if he was still communicating with other people when you were living with him in Egypt. But my idea of a womanizer is not what Mahmoud is doing, unless, Nicole, you know something that we don't know. And if you do, please share. So the next day, they talk about Nicole not covering up her body. This is a big area of contention between these two people because she still feels like, she's her own individual person, and then she can dress how she wants to dress. Her clothes are the way she dresses is how she expresses herself, and so it's really important for her to maintain her individuality. So this was one of the biggest areas of arguments when they were living back in Egypt, because he wanted her to be tradition, because let's not forget that Nicole did convert to Islam in order to marry Mahmoud, but she didn't take it too seriously. She says she tried it out, and when she realized how limiting that religion was for her, she decided to no longer practice Islam. So Mahmoud is still expecting her to still hold on to some of the tenements, I guess, of Islam, which is that a woman needs to be covered up whenever she's out in public. And so he doesn't expect her to dress in a hijab, but he is expecting her to be more covered up in her westernized clothing. And Nicole is not having none of that. So she talks to him about, still keeping her individuality. And she says to him, we're living in America now. I can dress how I want. And he tells her, I still follow my religion. I am a practicing Muslim, and my religion is very, very, very important to me. And so because he's a Muslim, it's not permissible for him to have a wife who exposes so much of her body. Now, what so much of her body means is evidently where, it's a very gray area between Nicole and Mahmoud. Because according to her, she feels like she can show whatever she wants. According to him, he wants her to be covered up. So anyways, so he tells her, even though my religion is very important to me and I'll follow the tenements of my religion very, very strictly, I'm still compromising because I love you. I'm still allowing you to dress however you want, within reason, because I do love you. And the example that he gives is the shirt that she was wearing at the time, which was a short sleeved shirt. And he tells her, like, you're wearing a short sleeve shirt. Normally, the old Mahmoud would not even accept that. Okay, I think the sleeves came down to her elbows. And he was like, the old Mahmoud would not accept that, but because I love you and I want this relationship to work and I want to be with you, I'm allowing you, or I'm okay, not allowing, but I'm okay with you having a shirt like that, where you're showing your skin from your elbow to, the tip of your fingers. So he tells her, the reason that I am the way that I am, it's not because, I'm a man and everything has to go my way because I'm a man and you have to listen to me. He says, because of my religion. I am the way that I am because of what I believe according to my religion. So I've said this 1,000 times about Nicole and Mahmoud. They should not be married because religion is making him do and making him believe what he believes. Her being a free-spirited woman who's not willing to convert to anything, who's not willing to meet him halfway when it comes to her attire. She's convinced that the way she believes is right, her choices are correct, and he is wrong. And so because they're not willing to compromise and meet in the middle, neither one of them is willing to bend, they should not be married. They should not be married, especially when you have one partner in the marriage who is very, 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 dedicated to his religion. Now that's a strong, you can't fight religion. Islam has been around for what, thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of years or whatever, as long as Christianity. You can't fight that. You can't fight that. So it's like a no-win situation between these two people. And her, wanting to be an individual. She's a very creative person. She's very artistic. She's always wanting to express herself. He can't fight that. So anywho, Mahmoud tells her, okay, so yeah. So then they plan to meet Nicole's friend. So they have I guess Nicole had made arrangements to introduce Mahmoud to her group of friends, and they were all supposed to meet at a restaurant, I guess. And because he did not like what she was wearing to this particular outing, he decided not to go. Now, what she was wearing was a dress, and the dress from the front was completely modest. It was all the way up to her neck. The sleeves were all long, but the back had little cutouts, vertical cutouts in the back, like little openings in the back where you could see the skin of her back. And because of that, he refused to go. He did not agree with what she was wearing, so he decided not to go. She tries to convince him to go. She tries to let him know how important it is for her friends to meet him. He's not having none of it. He's not trying to listen to any of that. And now he's in a mood, and he's upset, and he's not going to go. And she can't make him go. And so she takes her, so before she left, he threatens her with divorce, because she tells him that this is America. We're living here now. I can dress how I want. Now, whenever she says that, we're here in America now, we don't have to follow those rules and regulations that you follow in Egypt. I don't know if she really understands. It doesn't matter where he lives. His religion is still going to be the same. What he believes in is not going to change. He can be living in America, Antarctica, London, Paris, New York. It's not going to matter. His religion is what it is. It's not going to change because he's living in America. I don't know why she thought that he was going to be a little bit more lenient because they're no longer living in a Islamic society or a Muslim society. I don't know why she thought it was going to be any different. His religion is who he is. So when she says to him, well, we're living in America now, I'm like, that is such a weak argument, because just because someone moves to a different place or a different area does not mean that they're no longer going to believe what they believe in. So when she talks about how she can dress how she wants, he tells her, well, just go be naked then. Just go be naked. And then he threatens her with divorce. divorce. He tells her that he wants a divorce. And then she says that she wants a husband who will accept her as she is. Nicole, as free spirited as you are, I don't know how you got involved with a man who is very restricted by his religion. I just don't understand how this relationship even started. She's such a, she's very much an individual, wants to do what she wants to do and how she wants to do it. I don't know how you ended up being with a man whose religion completely goes against individuality and the expression of oneself. And everything that a person does, you have to do it for the sake of Allah, I guess. So I just don't understand how these people even ended up being together. But I don't know. I think that she kind of misled him by converting to his religion, making him believe that she was willing to sacrifice that much, to change her religion or to take on a religion that was going to be so restrictive. And then all of a sudden she did it for a couple of months, didn't like it. And now she wants to be, wild and free. I think she kind of did the whole bait and switch on him and misled him just a little bit. That's just my personal belief. Now, I think that Mahmoud should realize that, you are with a very strong-minded American woman, and she's not going to back down. And so you need to make a decision, Mahmoud. Do you want to fight for the rest of your life, or do you want to live in peace with a woman who's more compatible with the lifestyle that you want to live? Moving on to Jasmine and Gino. So remember, Jasmine and Gino had that big fight where they went to the immigration attorney. Then they realized that because Gino did not include Jasmine's 2 children on her immigration petition, they're going to have to start from square one with the as far as getting the children here to America. And it can take up to 2 years, where normally it would have taken only 6 months if he did it correctly the first time. And all they had to do was just amend her immigration status to bring the kids over. It would have taken only 6 months. Now it can take up to 2 years. So they got into that big old argument because she's mad at him for leaving the kids out. He thinks that it's both of their faults because he's like, these are your children, so you should have been very much aware of what was in these applications and how to apply for your children. And she wants him to hire an attorney. He says he can't afford an attorney. He's going to do it himself. She's worried that if he does it himself, he's going to mess up again. And it's going to take even longer than 2 years for her kids to come. And so she's coming from the point of view as a mother who really wants to be with her children and can't be with her children because this man has messed up her immigration application. Also, they threw some really bad words towards each other. She said that he was unfit to be a dad, which hit him below the belt because Gino really wants to have a child of his own. And he called her dumb, idiotic, stupid, whatever, because of the fact that, he felt like she was just as much as responsible as he was in making sure that the application was done correctly for her kids. So Jasmine tells us that since they've had that fight, Gino has been ignoring her. She feels really lonely. And she just wants to go back to Panama and be with her kids and her family. Jasmine goes to a postal store to mail off some care packages for her children. And while she's there, Michelle meets her there. Now, Michelle is the wife of Gino's cousin, Dana. We've seen Dana a lot on this show, so we're very familiar with who he is. He was not the biggest advocate of Gino and Jasmine getting together. He had a lot of issues with Jasmine and just like the rest of his family. And so Michelle is Dana's wife. So Michelle and Jasmine have kind of developed like a friendship or a bond with one another because it was Michelle that had informed Jasmine that Gino had a bachelor party. Otherwise, Jasmine probably would never have found out. I don't know. But it was Michelle that had brought it to Jasmine's attention that Gino had a bachelor party and it was wild and crazy. So Michelle and Jasmine are kind of, out of all his family members, she's the closest to Michelle. So Jasmine tells Michelle about Gino and how he messed up on the immigration process and that he didn't include her kids in the application. Now she has to wait 2 years for her kids to come here. She's very upset. She's crying. And Michelle says, well, just hire a lawyer. And it's not as simple as that because Gino keeps saying that he's broke. So Jasmine tells Michelle, I wish I could, but I can't because he says he doesn't have the money to hire an attorney. So Michelle says, don't worry about it, Jasmine. Me and Dana, we will talk to Gino and convince him to get an attorney. So Jasmine, she feels a little bit bit relieved. She's still crying. She's still upset. But she hugs Michelle, and, she acts as if she's extremely appreciative of what Michelle is going to be of what Michelle is going to try to do for her. And the whole time I'm watching this scene, I'm just thinking to myself, okay, Jasmine, you put on this show that you're so grateful for Michelle, and, you act like, oh, you're my only family here, and I love you guys so much. But she did not even want these people at her wedding. And she was constantly giving Gino ultimatums, like, it's either going to be your family or me, but it can't be both. So I'm just like, girl, the fakeness is too much. So next time though, so then we see Gino, and he's actually with his cousin Dana, and they're talking about the whole Jasmine situation and her children, and Jasmine threatening to go back to Panama because, she can't wait 2 years to see her kids. And Dana's coming from the point of view of, Gino, you need to make it happen. Get an attorney so that we can expedite the process, or the attorney can do it correctly so that she doesn't have to wait longer than she needs to see her children. Gino once again says, I can't afford it. I don't have the money. I do not have $5,000 to give to an attorney. And his cousin Dana kind of looked at him like, you don't have $5,000. So, I really need to understand, I understand that, Gino had sent her money to buy her wedding gown when she was still in Panama, but she spent the money on butt implants. He had to pay for the wedding. But don't you have, I thought he had this huge retirement thing. I thought he had he talked about how he had all this money in savings, and he had stocks and investments and 401ks. I thought he had at least $5,000 somewhere, but anyways, whatever. So Gino tells his cousin what Jasmine has said about him, saying that he is not fit to be a father because of, what he did with the immigration stuff. And, Dana kind of was like, oh, well, the look on his face, he didn't say this, but the look on Dana's face was kind of like, oh, well, Jasmine didn't tell us that, that she's, of course she didn't. Of course, Jasmine didn't say the things that she said to Gino. She's only going to paint the picture of Gino being really mean and cruel to her. So Dana tells him, she's threatening to go back to Panama. She told Michelle that she wants to go back to Panama, and I think she's really... Dana, shut up. You don't know how Jasmine is, how she's constantly making these empty threats so that she can get what she wants out of Gino. Jasmine is not going back to Panama. Okay. Now, if she does end up going back to Panama over this, I will be shocked and I will eat my words. But Jasmine is not going back to Panama. But Dana's like, well, she said she's going back to Panama, Gino. So you need to make this right. You need to do whatever you can to make this right so she doesn't leave. Okay, when did this happen? All of a sudden, you're Team Jasmine, when before you were trying to convince your cousin to not marry Jasmine, and trying to convince Gino, oh, she's only after a green card, she's only using you for a green card, using you for your money. And now you're all Team Jasmine, do whatever you can, to make her stay. And let's not forget, she did not even want you at her wedding. So the next time that we see Gino and Jasmine, they are going to their wedding photographer to pick up their wedding photos. And so so as we're looking at the wedding photos, which they were all really beautiful photos, Gino did look nice. Jasmine looked really beautiful. The photos were really nice. So Jasmine mentions how on her wedding day, her hair looked a whole lot better than what it looks like now because she has alopecia. And so whenever she's extremely stressed, and right now she is extremely stressed out because of this whole situation with her children, her alopecia kicks into high gear and her hair starts falling out. And we definitely saw some bald patches in her hair when they were at the photographer's studio. So that looked real to me. Her hair looked like it was really broken off, or around the front, and you could see the bald patches, and that looked real to me. And I remember when I was scrolling through TikTok one time, I came across one of her lives, and she talked about having alopecia and how, she'll have these bald spots in her head, and her hair will get really, really thin around the front, around the crown. And so it's real. She does have, to me, it looks like she really does have alopecia, and my heart just goes out to her. So, she's very, very stressed out, and she starts crying when they're at the photographer's studio. She starts crying because, she's thinking about her kids and stuff, and she ends up getting up and walking out, and Gino has to go chase after her. I understand that Jasmine and Gino, now I'm not falling for the okie doke, y'all. I am not falling for the okie doke. I'm not falling for I understand the purpose of Jasmine and Gino. They're here to so-called, bring in the viewers and get the ratings or whatever because they're so dramatic. But if there was ever a time where Jasmine appeared to be vulnerable, appeared to be a little bit truthful, it was like during this moment here. I'm not falling for the okie doke. I'm not saying that I'm falling for it 100%, but it seems like, whatever's going on with Jasmine right now, it might have a little bit of ring of truth to it. So I don't know. I really don't know. I'm expecting them to be all lovey-dovey by next week, so who knows. Moving on to Rob and Sophie. So Sophie's hanging out with her friends by the pool. She's at Kay's house because remember she refused to stay with Rob in their apartment, so she ended up leaving because they got into an argument, and she went back to Kay. So Kay and Sophie and a couple of other of her friends are hanging out at the pool, and of course they're talking about Rob. So we're talking about Rob, trying to figure out, what is really going on with Rob. Is he good enough for Sophie? Is this relationship worth her time, etc.? And then they talk about Caleb. And so her friends are like, what really brought Caleb here? And she said that he was coming to America anyway. He didn't come to America specifically for her because he travels a lot. He was going to be in America anyway. And she has suggested to Caleb to stop by Austin so that he could meet her husband, Rob, and also spend some time with her. So Rob ends up showing up, and she introduces him to all her friends, and Rob tells us that he really wasn't looking forward to this because he knows that the friends are going to be giving him the third degree. So as he's sitting there, yes, they are asking him questions, like what's going on between you and Sophie, why aren't y'all getting along, etc. Y'all, I don't remember exactly what was said because I zoned out, but they're basically like giving him the third degree about why can't y'all get along? What's going on between the two of you? So Rob tells us that he is very suspicious of Caleb coming to the United States to see his wife. So he thinks that Caleb is coming to America specifically for Sophie. So Caleb ends up, he shows up, and when he walks up to them, Rob sees him, and Rob is automatically on high alert because, Caleb was a decent looking guy. He looked really young though, but he's a decent looking guy. And so Rob was feeling some kind of way about this nice looking man coming to America to see his wife. So he does believe that Caleb is attracted to Sophie because, to him, Sophie is so beautiful. Okay, Rob, I'm going to have to stop you right here. Just because she is your cup of tea does not mean that she is everybody's cup of tea. Okay, it is very, very possible that some men can look at Sophie and not feel any kind of attraction to her. But I'm not saying it's Caleb. I'm just saying that, he seems to think that Sophie is like the most beautiful woman in the world, which he should think that because that's his wife. But trust and believe, okay? She is not everybody's cup of tea. So Caleb shows up. Sophie introduces Caleb to everybody, and during the course of the conversation, Caleb happens to mention to Rob that him and Sophie dated, and Rob did not know this. So when he mentioned this, Rob was like, hold up, what do you mean y'all used to date? And then Sophie steps in and says, it was a long time ago. We were teenagers. It's not a big deal. It's not like that. So then Rob is upset because, number one, he probably feels stupid being the only one there who did not know that Sophie and Caleb used to date, even though they were only kids at the time. But he feels some kind of way. And number two, she had failed to tell him this. And so automatically he gets, extremely jealous, and it really messes with his mind. So he actually gets up and he walks away. He leaves because he's so upset about it. Now, Caleb tells Sophie that he really wanted to check Rob out to make sure that Rob was right for Sophie because he doesn't want Rob to end up like her other boyfriends in the past, because I guess Sophie has a certain type of man that she's attracted to, and they always end up, the relationship always ends up not going well. And so he wanted to check Rob out for himself to make sure that he was good enough for Sophie. I don't know exactly how Caleb feels about Rob, but Sophie had to tell him that, look, this is not something that I can just walk away from if you happen to not like him or if you see red flags or whatever, because Rob is my husband. He's not just a boyfriend passing by. He is my husband. So if there's issues, I have to try to make it work. So wherever Rob went, he comes back and he tells Sophie that he wants to talk to her. And his main issue with her right now is that he's upset that she never told him that her and Caleb used to date. And Sophie mentioned to us that we dated when she was like 15, 16 years old, 16, 17 years old, something like that. When she talks about her exes or when she thinks about her past relationships, Caleb is not even a factor in that because she was so young when they were dating. She made it seem like it was just, puppy love, a couple of kids fooling around. They probably didn't even have a sexual relationship. So she doesn't understand why Rob is making such a big deal about it. Girl, you better tell him something because you know how your husband is. Your husband, he's ready to go off at any minute. Rob likes arguments. He likes confrontations. And so he's not going to back down. So you need to explain to him concisely, clearly and concisely, that this was just puppy love. We were kids. We were still in school. It wasn't a big deal, Rob. Calm the hell down. Moving on to Kobe and Emily. So we are still in Cameroon. I think they're going to be in Cameroon for like 2 weeks. So Kobe's at the barber shop with his friends and he's getting his hair done for the wedding that they're going to be having, the traditional Cameroon wedding that they're going to be having. And the friends ask him if he's going to settle down in Cameroon. And I'm like, y'all must not know Emily. Ain't no way in hell Emily's going to settle down in Cameroon when she has it so nice and cushy living with her parents and her parents taking care of everything. That's not going to happen. So Emily would never allow that. So the friends say, the friends say that in Cameroon, what they believe in Cameroon is that a man is the king of his household. And I'm thinking to myself, do the friends know that Kobe doesn't have a household? He doesn't have a home. He lives with Emily's parents, so he can't be the king of another man's house. Okay, the king of that house is Emily's father. So, like, what are y'all talking about? That the man is the king of the house. Yeah, we understand where you're coming from, but your boy Kobe doesn't have a house. Okay, he's got no house to rule. He lives with his father-in-law. So he has to go by his father-in-law's rules and regulations. So the friends, Kobe explains that he had to adapt to American culture. So he tries to explain to his friends, I understand what we believe as, Cameroonians. I understand what we believe, but I live in another country. They have a whole different set of rules over there, and I have to adapt to that. Okay. And they say to him that 90% of Cameroonian men who marry American women or white women, I didn't know if they meant like American women in general or specifically white women. I don't know. But let's just say American women. 90% of Cameroonian men who marry Americans end up being very unhappy, and they end up coming back to Cameroon and marrying a Cameroonian woman because they just can't deal with how American women are, very independent of thought. They do what they want. There is no, you rule me, you control me, you're the king of my, there's none of that. With American women, it's an equal playing field. So a lot of Cameroonian men who marry American women can't take that, and they want to go back to a traditional Cameroonian woman who will cook and clean and allow the man to make all the decisions and rule the household. So that's got nothing to do with Kobe, because Kobe is not coming back to Cameroon. Okay, Kobe is not going to come back to Cameroon. Friends, y'all are wasting y'all's breath about talking about, he's not coming back to Cameroon. Okay, he's happy where he's at. So the friends say that the reason why they're telling him this is because they're just looking out for him. They don't want him to be stuck in an unhappy marriage with a very domineering woman who wants to be the boss of him. But, Kobe doesn't have an issue with that. So now it's date night for Kobe and Emily, and they go out to eat. And Emily tells him that her and her family were stuck in the hotel all day long while he was at the barbershop, and it wasn't much fun for them. And so she wants to do more family things in Cameroon. And I totally agree with her on that. Y'all, they're in a different country, Kobe. They need to experience your country, your culture, your people. Don't have them all holed up in the hotel room while you're hanging out with your friends at the barbershop all damn day. So anywho, he promises that yes, that's not going to happen again. I'm going to take y'all out. We're going to have a good time. So then they talk about what was discussed at the barbershop. And he tells Emily, this is what my friends think. This is what they said, that, I should be with a woman who's more passive. I should be with a woman who allows me to be dominant, et cetera, et cetera. Look, I'm not even going to spend too much time talking about this because it doesn't matter what Kobe is not going anywhere. He's going to stay with Emily. As immature, as bossy as she is, as self-centered as she is, he is not going anywhere. He is 3 kids deep with Emily. Okay, the father-in-law pays for everything. He ain't going nowhere. So I'm not even going to talk about it. Moving on to Manuel and Ashley. So Manuel really wants to take Ashley to a Catholic church for her to experience Catholicism because, you know, she is a witch and he doesn't like the fact that she's a witch. And so he wants her to experience a little bit of his religion. So they go to the church and Ashley says that she believes Catholicism causes a lot of religious trauma. She doesn't believe in this. She's not down with it, but she's willing to do this because she says that if she shows respect for his beliefs, he will show respect for hers. So when they get to the church, you know, the first thing that they're supposed to do is to cross themselves, and she doesn't do it. She's very uncomfortable. She's looking around like, I don't know, like she's on another planet or something. And I'm like, Ashley, you're doing the absolute most. Okay. You're doing that. Her looking around, being all scared and jittery, you know, like she's going to self combust because she's in a Catholic church. Girl, you're doing the most. Okay. Stop acting like you were born in a coven, in a witch's coven, and you know nothing about traditional religion. Stop it. You have been into a church before at some point in your life. Okay. You come from a normal family. You were not born in a coven of witches. Stop, Ashley. She was just being so dramatic in that damn church. Her eyes were really big and wide, and she was like looking around, scared as hell. Stop. So she had the audacity to ask Manuel, what is that book? Because there was a book on a podium at the front of the church. And he tells her, that's the Bible. Ashley, I don't care how much of a witch you think you are. Please tell me that you have at least 2 brain cells working in that damn brain of yours. You are in a church. What book do you think it is? Okay, the Encyclopedia Britannica, that is a Bible. Don't act like you don't know what the hell, Don't act like you don't know what a Bible is, Ashley. Don't be stupid. Okay, we're rolling with you with this whole witchcraft thing, spiritualism, casting spells, your crystals. We're giving you the utmost respect on that. But don't sit up here and play dumb with us by asking this man, what is that damn, and you are in a church. You know that's a Bible. What else could it be, Ashley? Stop. So after the ceremony, the deacon comes to talk to them, and they talk about how they have these different beliefs. You know, she's a witch, he's Catholic, and blah, blah, blah. So the deacon tells them, well, this is going to be a problem in your relationship. They talk about how they're supposed to meet his family. His family's Catholic, and they don't know how they're going to take her being a witch. And the deacon tells them they're not going to take it very well. So basically the deacon was like, this is going to be a problem. Y'all need to find a solution to this. Look, I just can't. Look, y'all. This is another couple I'm not going to waste too much time on. Let's just move on. So they're on their way now to the airport because they're going to go see Manuel's family in New York. On their way there, she asks Manuel, so what is the plan when we get there? And Manuel tells her, well, first we're going to meet up with my friend Jonathan, and then the next day we're going to go to Newark to see my family. And so she's like, we're going to go to New York? Because, you know, she's thinking, we're already going to be in New York. Well, we have to go to New York to see our family. And he's like, no, we're going to go to Newark. And so he's talking about Newark, New Jersey. And so she's like, Manuel, this whole time I thought your family lived in New York. And I already made arrangements for us to stay in Queens because I thought that wasn't going to be too far away from your family. And I'm just looking at these 2 idiots and I'm like, not so much Manuel. I take that back. Manuel, you know, he doesn't understand the way of the land. He doesn't understand. But Ashley, you not once asked this man for an address of where his family lived. So this whole time, girl, you thought his family lived in New York, but they lived in Newark. So when y'all were making travel arrangements, when you were booking hotels and flights, you never asked him for the address of his family. I don't understand. Maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh on her. Maybe it's a common mistake. Now, I do know that Newark, New Jersey is a hop, skip, and a jump away from New York City. It's not that far. I think it's like one train ride from, between the two cities. It's not that far at all. But like, how did you not know that his family lived in New Jersey? And then she tells him, no, Manuel, Newark is in New Jersey. That's a whole nother state. Okay, he doesn't know. He's not from here. So, I can accept that. But girl, why didn't you ask some questions? Remember, her mom had a problem with Ashley not asking enough questions. Her mom had told her, girl, you don't ask enough questions. With all the arguments and the sex that y'all are having, do you take time to ask him any questions about anything at all that's of importance? Y'all, let's move on to Ed and Liz. This is ridiculous. Ed and Liz, they're hosting a 4th of July party at their house. Both sides of their families are going to be there. Her people are going to be there. His people are going to be there. So it's like a big old shindig. So his mom is even there. Okay, so his mom shows up, which is a big deal to Ed because he hasn't seen his mom in a year because his mom was really upset that he was even dating Liz. So his mom has come around, I guess, and now they're talking again and the mom is there. Liz's mom is also going to be there and she plans on having a conversation with Ed about his relationship with Liz. Now, Liz is worried that the conversation is not going to go well because, Ed can be confrontational. And if he doesn't like what her mom is saying, he's going to let her know. So she's really worried about that. So when her mom shows up, she pulls Ed to the side and she expresses to Ed what her concerns are, that their relationship is really unstable. There's been so many times when Liz has called her, telling her all the horrible things that Ed has done to her, the horrible things that Ed has said to her. So the mom is very unsure. And so Ed, Ed knows how to say the right things. He probably should have been a publicist or something, or a PR agent, because he knows how to spin it. And he tells the mother that, there were times when he was wrong in his relationship. He says that because he's very, very insecure with himself, he will sabotage his relationship because he felt like he was not worthy of Liz. He wasn't worthy enough to be with her because he had so many insecurities about himself. I was like, damn, Ed. Okay. I mean, he really spinned it to try to convince the mom that, yes, it was my fault, but this is the reason why it was my fault, because I suffer from all of these issues. And then he tells her how they went to Florida and they got a lot of counseling. And so it was like a big restart to their relationship. And he tells the mom, every single time that me and Liz have broken up, I have absolutely regretted it. So he spun a really good story. The mom felt really good about it. She ended up even giving him a hug and welcoming him to their family. So she fell for the okie doke. She definitely fell for the okie doke. Let's just see if this wedding is actually going to take place. Anyways, y'all, that is my review. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. If you like this content, please subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to rate the video, and I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.